Hey all, good evening here. It's definitely a quiet night here in our part of Texas, and beautiful sunset as usual. So with that in mind, we'll just go ahead and head to the charts, and we can see the northerly flow coming in from Canada there. Got a big 1028 millibar high in that region, and we've got north flow coming down throughout the entire Great Plains there. Taking a look out in the southeast U.S., there's our, at this time, weak weather system moving through Georgia. Bit of a cold front extending off into the Gulf, and there's that warm front that we talked about yesterday. And we know that this system here is formerly an occluded front, and it appears it has a little bit of baroclinicity. It's picked up there. And you can see we go from like 54 out of Kentucky all the way down to about 30 out in the western Midwest region. And just about everywhere else, it's quiet. There's a Great Basin high out in the western U.S., 1033 millibars there. Temperatures in the 30s, a little bit mild. And you can see that north flow that predominates in southern Nevada and northern Arizona. Okay, heading to the charts here. Yeah, I was going to go over some of the Hovmoller diagrams, plots of height with latitude and longitude, because this is one way we can look at upper level waves. And by upper level waves, we're talking about these patterns here. These are the upper level heights. They're kind of like pressure, so these are like low heights and low pressure up there in Canada. And where they bow south, we have troughs, and these are negative height anomalies, and they tend to be correlated with cold air. And a lot of times during the season, we'll find that we have a pattern that just stays entrenched. For example, during all that cold weather a couple weeks ago, we had a lot of low heights up in the Hudson Bay region. So what does that look like on the diagrams? Let's bring that up. These are heights at 500 millibars at latitude 40 around the globe. And down at the bottom is the most current observations, and up at the top, that's going to be early January. And you can kind of see what looks like three waves. If we go by ridges, we've got these. And we can look at the bottom to kind of see where those ridges are. So we have one that's out in the Pacific, another one that's right now over western North America, and looks like a very, very broad ridge in the Atlantic and in Europe. And we can see that that ridging in Europe is kind of broad through the entire season, whereas it looks like we've got a tighter wavelength here in North America on this side of the chart. So three-wave pattern, that's going to lend itself towards retrogressing, and it does look like that's what happens here. So the entire pattern seems to be backing up except in the Atlantic. So that would suggest that possibly we may see more troughing on the East Coast, and maybe more ridging off the Pacific coast, and that spells probably a period of northwesterly flow in our part of the country. We can also look at it in terms of height anomalies, and this is an example. This is the same thing, and it's just showing that the ridge in the Pacific is built up especially high, for example. And then we can go up to the Arctic regions and see what the waves look like. This is up at 60 degrees latitude. So we might look for the Hudson Bay vortex out in this area here, and it looks like it does show up right there. So it looks like it got started in early February, and we had some cold weather, of course, and then it shut down around late February, and then got replaced with that ridge there. So, you know, that's some neat stuff we can look at, and we can also look at it north and south instead of east and west. For example, this is the height anomaly. This is on the east coast. And it shows that the patterns kind of intensified a bit and changed from what we had earlier in February and January. And it's showing that down in the southerly latitudes off Florida, a negative anomaly indicating troughing there. And that might be correlated with the surf that Ryan was reporting. And then up in the Arctic regions out here, looks like some ridging taking hold way up there. That would be around the Labrador Sea area. All right, so yeah, we can kind of put that together here. I think I may need to bring this up to date. Let me get this going. Here we go. Here's our 250 millibar chart, and sure enough, it's showing some troughing there in the eastern and Mississippi River Valley. Some of that northwest flow coming in, and a little bit of ridging off the west coast there. So this is probably a pattern we're going to see for a lot of the spring here, or at least I should say over the next couple weeks there. Okay, jet stream has moved out at the eastern U.S., so a lot of the baroclinicity is pushed out in that direction, and things are weakening in the high plains and the Rockies, so we've probably got a period of quiet weather coming up between now and the weekend. Okay, thermal structure. All right, there we go. Let me bring this up a little bit further. That's going to be 2 p.m. data. Forgot we're looking at 18Z data, so we're going to need to bring this up to the 8-hour panel, and that'll kind of give us what we're looking at right now. There's our baroclinicity right there in the Carolinas, Georgia, Alabama. So our front kind of follows right there, coming through the Tallahassee area, and then the warm front would be right in that region. So that's where your support for the upper level jet is. It's going to be back in, let me pick a different color here. It's going to follow this banding right here you see in the thickness field. And it should come pretty close to the triple point of that cold front and warm front. And then up to the north, we can see, sure enough, that low pressure system in Ohio is a little bit decoupled from the baroclinic field. It's kind of sitting out on this side of the banding. So only a small bit of temperature advection taken back in there. And then 1032 millibar high coming in from Montana. And looks kind of quiet there for the next few days with this low offshore. Then a quick look at the soundings. We'll take a look at Fort Worth. And it's dry. Dry air all the way up to about 25,000 right there. So it's pretty good data there for picking out the cirrus clouds. So they extend probably from about 25 up to 35,000 feet there. Tropopause is up at about 40,000 feet there. And then down in the lower levels, looks like a bit of a subsidence inversion there in the tens of thousands of feet. And then down below, steep lapse rate, so pretty good indication of cold air advection being modified. You can see that right there, northwest winds. So steep lapse rate that if we have enough moisture, we would be able to get a little bit of stratocumulus out of that sounding, maybe at about 7,000 feet, but looks like it's too dry for that. All right, let me bring up the water vapor and make sure chat is looking pretty good. Ron Chalfant and Mike Estwick, Cheryl Lee Keast, 14 degrees there in Michigan. Electric Dog is here, and Carl Burkhoff, Fun with Tech. Megan John reporting 25 in Minnesota. Mike R. in San Francisco. David Holcomb. Ryan Toomey's Mesotrack. Andrew Hotchkiss. Adam Davis And Ryan mentioning bracing for the Northeast winter holocaust. Intends to cripple air travel during the next few days. Got Jeff Krob checking in from Maryland. Ryan reporting flights canceled for tomorrow. Stacking up by the hour as planes stay south, away from the winter storm. Mike R. reporting a nice warm-up there. Series of robust storms impacting the area of Southern California. Precip totals coming up. Good. Ron Chalfant agreeing. Ryan Toomey's reporting the winds have died down a bit. Temperatures down to the mid-70s. And Jeff Krob reporting GOES S orbit is raising. It's good that we're getting those new birds up there without much problem. Ryan reporting the Pacific Far Western Corridor cyclone Hola is gaining strength. Jeff Krob reminds us that GOES S will be on station at 137 West, which will be slightly west of California, so that'll be the GOES West slot. Erica Baker reporting Oklahoma and Kansas was under a fire weather warning. Fires are in central Osage County below Pawhuska. Smoke plumes stretching to Fort Smith. And Dane House reporting 39 degrees and rain in Richmond. All right, so you've probably picked out where the jet stream is. We look for that contrast between moist air to the south and dry air to the north. So we can probably place a jet segment, kind of like that right there. So from North Texas to Virginia. And we're picking up some of that subtropical moisture. There it is, passing through Texas and probably on its way to the southeast U.S. And we can see on the very edge, looks like a new system coming onto the California coast there. Okay, looks about the same there on the infrared imagery. And looks like possibly a little band of clouds coming down across Iowa and Kansas City there. All right, I don't want to make this too long since this is kind of a quiet weather day. I think we'll have our share of storms here in a couple weeks, and we'll definitely make up for that time and track that, maybe have some extended segments that go on most of the afternoon. Anyway, GFS for tonight there. There's our system moving up the east coast. A little bit of cold air up to the north. Looks like snow just north of Philadelphia and New York. And the system will track up the coast. And by morning, conditions going downhill in New Jersey, New York City area, and Connecticut. System is going to be looking like this tomorrow morning. It's going to be a little bit offshore, but one occlusion will be working its way across New Jersey. There it goes. You can see the low pressure in that area. Then by afternoon, that will be pulling up into the New York City area. And GFS really going bullish on that snow there from Poughkeepsie down to New York. Then overnight, the system will be moving up into Massachusetts, and it looks like some of the precip changes over to liquid. And then things start shutting down for Thursday morning, but behind, looks like a little upper air low there, hanging back over the Great Lakes. That's going to be an occlusion also, because it's decoupled from this thickness field that you see out through there. Out on the plains, warm air advection getting started up for Friday. Not quite tapping the Gulf, maybe a little bit there for Thursday night. So once again, we've got like 1 day of moisture return, enough to get a little bit going there. But the models look pretty dry here for Friday. And then for Saturday, things break out, but it looks like it's going to be pretty far to the east. and that's probably due to the very fast, brief moisture return and the strong zonal zonal component. Sorry. So we're talking about very strong west to east flow, and that's bringing this weather system across Tennessee for Sunday. So depending how deep that moisture return is, we may have a chance of severe there in northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, and Tennessee. That's pretty much right in there, in that warm front zone right there. And then behind it, the cold front back across the I-40 corridor there of Arkansas. That'll continue eastward, and you can see a little bit of damming there in North Carolina and Virginia. And there's the fronts with that. And that would actually extend back into the Gulf region. Strong cold air advection coming in over the Mississippi River Valley for the rest of Sunday. And the system is off the coast by Monday. Coming in behind it, 1040 millibar high, so it looks like that's some fairly stout pressures for this time of year. So we should see some cool weather, especially with that 540 line coming south. Enough to get some upslope snow going there around the Tucumcari and Albuquerque area. Yeah, you see that right there. That's pretty significant. You can definitely see the pressure gradient. So the impact on the high plains looks to be pretty strong here with that high. This is for Monday the 12th. So maybe a bit of a snowstorm there in New Mexico, and it looks like it even expands into Arizona. See that right there? So maybe a bit of a wind shift there at Tucson as that builds over the mountains. And looks like it goes kind of stationary right there. Then our next Pacific system comes in for Tuesday. And we can see that cross in the Rockies. And then it emerges out on the high plains. Moisture return coming up into Texas. So once again, weekend rain for Arkansas, Memphis. And again, it looks like a strong zonal, quick moisture return scenario. And then looks like the Pacific is active once again. So we're going to be probably in kind of a cool pattern with above average precipitation in the southern U.S. and kind of dry and cool in the northern U.S. Okay, low vertically stacked still, not sure. I haven't looked at all the charts. Looks like the upper level low is over northwest Arizona there. Surface charts got that in the same area, so yeah, it's almost vertically stacked there. Carl says snow rates were 1 inch per hour last night, and Ron Chalfant says don't forget to click the like button. I appreciate that. Anyway, hope you all have a good evening and take care, and hopefully we'll have some interesting weather to look at here soon. Have a good evening, everybody.